Welcome. So in today's video, I want to talk about another underrated boot and still in the form of a New Balance boot. So this is the Furon V8. So I do have the V7 and I've done my V7 Plus and I've done my review on that as well. And if you've seen that, you'll know how positive my view and outlook is on this boot. Super underrated, very, very good boot. So naturally I wanted to grab the V8. So these have been out for a couple of months now, but it was something I kept on watching reviews, and you know, I've seen them in store a couple of times. And I really wanted to give them a go. So yeah, that's what we sort of going over today, comparing them sort of against the V7 as well as the Vapor 13, because in my V7 video, I also then compared it to this in a few ways, but objectively, in my opinion at least, this is a better boot than the V7. So I don't know if that's so clear cut now with this V8 around, but again, before we get into it all, if you are enjoying the content, like I said, as always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. But getting into it, I actually wanted to start with the sizing. So in the V7, I highly recommend you go up half a size, mainly because of the length. So if you went true to size, it was just a little bit too short, in my opinion, to be comfortable. And going up that half size didn't leave you with a ton of room at the front, but everything else still fit excellent. So when looking for these, I did actually start with going half a size up, and I had a full finger's worth of room up here. Everything else still fit great, but I just felt that it was a little bit too much room in that front to be sort of that speed boot feel. So it's still very comfortable, and that was sort of the V7 strength of how comfortable and lightweight it is. But I felt with the V8, it was just a little bit too much room. And so if you've watched the Boot Wizard's review, he then also started with the half a size up and then went back true to size for his next pair, and sort of changed the experience that the boot was providing with being more of that true, you know, hug your foot, tight wrap, really close speed boot feel. So I tried on the 9.5 and then I decided to try on the 9 and went, yep, the 9 is definitely the way I'm going to go. I still have a little bit of room in the front, so it's not, you know, pushing my toes all the way to the front, but there's still a little bit of room there. And everything else fits super, you know, snug, tight, that really mercurial vapor-esque wrap to your foot. So that was something I found really impressive with these. And then, yeah, so if you're someone who can get away with having that really tight squeeze and you like that mercurial feel, the true to size, in my opinion, is the way to go. But if your foot is a little bit wider or you just don't want that really tight squeeze, then up half a size will still work great. It, like I said, for me, I just felt it was a little bit too much room in the front, but everything else, the width was great. Everything still felt really snug and tight. I didn't feel like I had too much room in it. It was really just that toe. So if you don't want a boot that really squeezes your foot like a mercurial, then I would definitely recommend the half a size up. But if you want the true speed boot feel, definitely true to size. Like Boot Wizard said, it changes the way it feels. It's very impressive. So I guess getting back into the actual boot and some of sort of the differences we have here compared to the V7. So straight away you'll notice sort of the lacing system. It's still off-centered, but it doesn't have that sort of lace cover shield sort of design there. It's all just exposed, you know, a one-piece construction with the exposed knit there. And I don't really have a preference either way. They both fit good. They both do a good job. I was a little bit worried that getting rid of that top cage that was sort of pulling everything across and giving you some more of that lockdown, the elimination of that, I was a little bit worried that the lockdown wasn't going to be as good, but especially with going that true to size, when you put these on your feet, it is snug. Like, you're not getting any room in the boot to feel like it's sloppy or anything like that. These fit like a mercurial, like really snug, really squeeze your foot. And yeah, and that sort of one-piece construction sort of adds to that. It's just really seamless. So I didn't find any, I guess, preference or discrepancy in terms of if I needed that extra bit of material there, pulling it there. It fit really well. You've also got the knit pattern is a little bit different compared to the V7 as well, where this is just a pretty consistent knit. This has got the full and half gauge zone, so essentially you'll see this big V shape here. The knit's not as tightly woven to give you a little bit more, freedom in the front there. And I would also say the knit is a little bit thinner than what it is on the 7. So I did compare the 7, if you've seen that video, to the Tiempo Legend 9 in terms of how this upper feels. It was almost like kangaroo leather-esque. And although this still feels very similar, it's definitely thinner, and the internal liner has changed too. This is more of a one piece, where in this boot it sort of was one material from here and then it changed the liner from the front. So yeah, probably a little bit more towards a true knit feeling than this kangaroo leather-esque, in my opinion, felt like. And to grab the mercurial again, so I definitely feel like the knit on this, with the two different yarns, feels more plasticky, and the texture and the coating to it compared to this knit, it is much softer. So arguably you could say that the mercurial might be a little bit more responsive, but you'd be splitting hairs. Like, this does not feel like a sloppy speed boot in any way. And arguably, I think that the New Balance has it over the mercurial in terms of comfort, big time. And you might be wondering why I'm comparing to the Vapor 13 rather than, the current gen Superflies or, any of the other Mercs I've got behind me. I still think that the 13 is probably one of the best examples in terms of the knit generation of that mercurial feel of a really tight squeeze, hug your foot, aggressive traction, no zoom unit, just pure speed boot, nice and simple. So this is, my opinion, is the benchmark in terms of knitted speed boots. And I think this might be a bit better, which is really saying something. So more bits around it. I think the heel is a lot better. So still a very good heel from the 7. Something I didn't talk about in my review of the 7 is actually the shape. You can see how much it actually leans in. It really has that angle. So they've actually toned that down a little bit on the new V8. So you can still see it does have that angle to it that really hugs your foot. And compared to the mercurial, it's definitely not as aggressive. So it still has an angle there as well, but I still, some people didn't like the V7 because of the heel. I had no problems with it, and I think the V8's another step in the right direction. Lots of padding. I said as well, up here, it's super soft and super pliable up in that heel. So that's really impressive. Just to finish with the upper as well, you do have a little bit of micro texturing here in these green dots. I didn't really feel it as I was playing. Like, it's nice to know it's there, but I didn't really feel it because it wasn't really down here with the striking. Unless you're really hitting it at the top of your foot, you're not really going to see it. So yeah, but in terms of the upper overall, really comfortable, a little bit thinner than the V7, and yeah, very impressive. If you get it true to size, it's fantastic. And then coming into the sole plate, it's still a very similar layout to the V7 Plus in terms of where the stud position is on them, but it's more so they've gone from these chevrons to this sort of T-shaped stud. It's very similar to the current Puma Ultra Ultimates. So with these really aggressive T-studs, so not as long and aggressively placed as the Ultra, but still, a bit of an evolution from the V7 Plus. And then you will see in sort of this midfoot, I can sort of, probably at better angles here, you can actually see how high this midfoot raise is through here and this yellow. Like it's got some substance to it compared to the midfoot on the 7 Plus. It's a lot lower. So you do have a bit more sort of midfoot strength in there and a little bit more, strength in, that torsion when you're twisting the boot. So it's still flexible. The forefoot is still very snappy. I did have a look before inside both the boots and they still have this sort of black piece of plastic at the front to sort of give you that snap. And I would say the 7 is a little bit softer and not as snappy as the 8. And I don't know if that's to do with the actual, the plate that they have in there, or the plastic plate, call it. More so, I think it's more the plastic of the sole plate that's changed, making it a bit stiffer and a bit snappier. So studs, a little bit more aggressive. The actual sole plate itself, more midfoot stability, and probably a little bit snappier in the front as well. You do have, it's a little bit gimmicky, but this little stud here, this 5th stud, so your normal 4, and then they put this 5th one in yellow, and yeah, they call it their speed control stud. I didn't really feel it at all. I don't think it helped me with deceleration or anything like that. Well, I didn't notice it, to be fair. So it's there, so be it. But yeah, and then another thing that I wanted to point out, I actually learned this from watching Noah Kavanagh's review on the V8s, and then I went back and looked at my V7s and actually saw that it had it as well. So this is the insole from the V7, and this is the insole from the V8. And you'll see on the 7 it says the IntelliGrip. So what that is, I'll try and get in the photo here. So you can see these sort of oval-shaped pattern on the insole, and that's sort of their grip element within the insole to stop you sliding around. And you can see they're sort of going this like horizontally instead of vertically. And then so if you rub your finger this way, it grips, but laterally it was smooth. And they've actually changed the direction of those grip elements. So now it's a little bit easier to get your foot in, but laterally it grips a lot more. So yeah, that was actually a pretty cool feature, and I didn't actually realize the overall design of that. So that's pretty cool. I do like that. And yeah, I guess my overall thoughts on this is I think it's a modern version of the 13 in a more comfortable package. And I really, really like the 13s. Like in my video for that, I describe them as my benchmark for a knitted, no-nonsense speed boot. And this is really giving me those vibes in a more comfortable package, in, again, a more modern package too. So the plastics, the materials are nicer, so that's an advantage as well. And yeah, when I did have these on, so I've put about 2 hours into these now, so I will probably come back to these later on to talk about my overall thoughts later, once I've had, multiple games in them. But overall, I got a few little hot spots that were there for a few, maybe 20 minutes or so, and the next time I wore them, nothing. Just a really comfortable knitted speed boot. So yeah, probably a little bit of a longer video than I was planning, but I really wanted to point out the differences between the 7 Plus and the new 8s, and then also, bring up that benchmark boot in terms of that Vapor 13, because this is fantastic, but I think this is more comfortable. And although I think the 13 might have more lockdown, I'd pick the comfort over the slight advantage of lockdown all day. It's just so much, it's so much nicer. It's so much more pliable. So yeah, and then just quickly, I think also the overall design, the new look that this V8's gone for, I really like it. I don't mind this New Balance logo being a little bit more forward and a little bit more angled. And then I like this sort of pattern that they've gone with through the back. It's a really cool color gradient they've gone and then sort of matched it with the the Soleplate with the yellow studs in the front and reddy pink in the rear. So that's really cool. I do like that. The little V8 logo on the back, it's a nice little touch. And again, that similar pattern through that striking section there too. So yeah, really, really nice looking boot. I really like what they've done with it. Just a note, this like metallic finish on this pink color is a wearable finish. So we'll see how that looks after I put a few more games in, because that's sort of the wearable finish aftermath of the V7 with that chrome coming off. So yeah, not that it really matters, but I always find it interesting to see what a boot's going to look like after it chips off, and yeah, looks a bit different after some wear time. But not to go on anymore, that's my thoughts on the Furon V8. It's an excellent boot. I think it's really slept on in the market. I think it's something that if I'm going to be grabbing, I really like the Puma Ultra Ultimate. I think this is a little bit more comfortable, but still offers a lot of the same, aggressive traction and stuff like that. So I'd be picking this over my F50 Mercies as well. I do prefer this upper a lot more than those. So yeah, it's a really, really underrated boot, and definitely more people need to give them a go. Highly recommend. But thank you for watching. Again, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you.